Okay, you've definitely seen this book everywhere. That bright orange cover is impossible to miss. But let's be real. Beyond that, very catchy title, what's it actually about? You might think it's all about being indifferent, but that's not it at all. It's really about choosing what's truly worth your energy. So let's dive in and unpack its core philosophy together.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it down. We're going to look at 4 big ideas. First up, your limited F budget. Then, why problems are actually a good thing. Next, we'll talk about embracing being wrong. And finally, we'll pull it all together and figure out how to choose what really matters.
So let's just address the elephant in the room, right? You see that title and you think, awesome, a book that gives me permission to just not care about anything. But is that really what it's saying? Is this just a how-to guide for being completely indifferent?
Nope, not even close. See, the whole point isn't about giving 0 Fs, it's about giving better ones. It's all about being super intentional with where you put your focus, not just becoming apathetic about everything in your life.
And that idea leads us right into the book's most famous concept, its central metaphor, really. This idea of your limited F budget.
Okay, think of it like this. Your energy, your attention, it's like money in the bank. You only have so much of it each day. You can totally blow it on, petty arguments online, scrolling through stuff that makes you feel bad, or worrying about things you have 0 control over. Or you can choose to spend that budget wisely, investing it in things that actually matter to you.
So, for being smart with our F budget, what should we be spending it on? Well, the book's answer is probably not what you'd expect. It says we should spend it on good problems. Now, you heard me right. And this next idea, it's going to completely flip how you think about happiness.
Look, so many of us are chasing this idea of a perfect problem-free life. But the book says that's a total fantasy. Real happiness, genuine satisfaction, doesn't come from avoiding problems. It comes from solving them. So the goal isn't to have no problems. The goal is to have better problems, ones you actually feel good about tackling.
And this really gets to the core of it, right? It's about taking responsibility. Life is going to throw curveballs. Stuff is going to happen that is completely out of your hands. But the one thing you always have power over is what you make it mean. How you choose to see it, how you choose to respond, that's 100% on you.
Which leads to maybe the most important question in the whole book. We always ask, what do I want? But a much better, more telling question is this. What are you willing to struggle for? What pain are you willing to put up with? Because that answer, that's what tells you what you actually value.
Yeah, those struggles point right to your values. And the book makes this super important distinction between good values and bad values. Good values are things that are based in reality. They're productive. And most importantly, they're things you can control. Bad values? They're usually superficial, maybe even destructive, and they depend entirely on what other people do or think. They're totally out of your hands.
Let's look at some examples, because this makes it so clear. Good values? Things like honesty, taking responsibility, being curious. Those are things you do. Bad values? Chasing fame, needing everyone to like you, having to be right all the time. See the difference? One is about your actions, your process. The other is about outcomes you can't possibly control. All right, so if you're going to choose those good, controllable values, you kind of need a dose of humility. You have to be okay with being wrong sometimes. And that brings us to our third big idea. This incredible freedom that comes when you realize you don't have to be special and you don't need all the answers.
Now, I know how that sounds. You're not special. It sounds kind of harsh, right? But it's actually meant to be completely liberating. Think about it. The constant pressure to be amazing, to be extraordinary, it's exhausting. When you just accept that you're a normal person, you can let go of all that pressure and just live. You can appreciate the simple, messy, real parts of your life.
This gets into what the book calls the certainty principle. Basically, certainty is the enemy of growth. The second you think you have it all figured out, you slam the door on learning anything new. Real growth, the good stuff, only happens when you're willing to doubt yourself, to question your beliefs, and to have the guts to say, hey, maybe I'm wrong about this. Uncertainty is where the magic happens.
So, how many of us do this? We sit around waiting for motivation to strike before we start something. Well, the book says we've got it completely backward. You don't wait for motivation, you act first. That small action creates a little spark, an emotional reaction, and that becomes the motivation to do more. It's an action loop, so stop waiting for inspiration, go out and create it.
And here's the thing about taking action. Sometimes you're going to fail. It's just inevitable. But we need to totally reframe what failure even is. It's not a punishment, it's not the end of the road.
It's just data. It's a teacher. It's feedback telling you what to try next. Every single failure is actually just a step forward.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. We've got our limited F budget. We know we need to choose good problems and be willing to fail. But how do we actually do that? This final section is all about putting it into practice. It's about the power of saying no and keeping the end in mind.
Saying no is basically your bodyguard for that F budget we talked about. Every single time you say no to something, a commitment, a request, something that just doesn't align with your values, you're not just rejecting something. You're actually saving your energy for a powerful, meaningful yes somewhere else.
And this brings us to what is maybe the most powerful and, yeah, a little intense tool in the entire book, confronting the reality of our own mortality. The idea is that being aware that our time is limited is the ultimate filter. It just cuts through all the noise, all the trivial stuff, and forces you to see what actually matters.
No, but seriously, think about that for a second. If you really truly accepted that your time here is finite, what would you stop wasting your energy on, like today? How many of your current worries would just seem completely ridiculous? It's the ultimate reality check for deciding what's actually worth caring about.
And really, that's what it all boils down to. The subtle art of not giving an F isn't about not caring. It's the exact opposite. It's about caring so much that you refuse to waste your energy on things that don't matter. It's about conscious, deliberate focus. So the real question is, what are you choosing to care about?